Hello everybody and warmly welcome into the exhibition Critical Zones. I would like to give you an insight into this exhibition today because it tackles a lot of questions that are also important for the festival Driving the Human. This exhibition was initiated by Bruno Latour and curated by him together with Peter Weibel and the curatorial team at the ZKM Karlsruhe. In the center of the exhibition is a question of a shift in a perspective. Modernity left us suspended in the mid-air, but the deep ecological crisis that we are witnessing today tells us that we cannot live in the future as we used to live to, and we cannot live without taking into consideration the planetary boundaries. We need a new politics of the Earth on the planetary scale, and this politics has to emerge now. It is highly needed. Therefore, the following questions are in the center of the exhibition. On what territory to land? How to describe this territory? How to become terrestrial and aware of the manifold entanglements that shape the world we are living in? And what policies do we need to ensure that the Earth stays livable and habitable in the future? All these questions are in the center of the exhibition, and we need to find answers to them if we want to land without crashing. We live not on Earth, that is a solid astronomical body among myriads of others, and not on the globe that has informed our relationship to the Earth so far. The globe, as a reference to define our relationship to the Earth, leads to a deep disorientation, suggesting that we take a perspective of dominance and control. We cannot see the territory we live in from an impossible perspective, from outside. The concept of the critical zone proposes another view, a view from within the living and entangled world. The term critical zone comes from geoscience and denotes the Earth's permeable near-surface layer, from the tops of the trees to the bottom of the groundwater. It is a living, breathing, constantly evolving boundary layer, where rock, soil, water, air, and living organisms interact. We live in and are embedded in the dynamic processes of this fragile and highly reactive skin of the planet, in which all life has evolved and created the conditions for sustaining life. Therefore, we are also part of its biogeochemical cycles, like carbon cycle, sulfur, phosphorus, sodium, silicium, aluminium, potassium, and others. Paradoxically, there is yet no shared representation of this territory. We do not only live on the Earth, but from the Earth, and by doing so, we are changing the Earth. In this way, a feedback is established between what we are doing to the soil we live on and how the soil reacts to our collective action. This mode of an inquiry to sense the critical zone through a set of different senses and to develop an alternative sensorium, including our own actions, is at the center of the exhibition. If a sick human body enters a hospital and an intensive care unit, then there is a whole set of instruments that can help physicians to monitor the body's state. Similarly, there has been established a network of critical zones observatories that monitor this fragile and highly complex domain of the critical zone, and to monitor the Earth that has entered in a critical state of the human-made climate crisis and of ecological urgencies. Critical Zones is a Gedankenausstellung, a thought exhibition, established in a mode of an observatory. This fictional modal situation has its starting point in the real critical zone observatories. That is a network of field-based observation stations operated by interdisciplinary teams of scientists who explore the interactions between earth sciences, hydrology, geochemistry, geomorphology, plant ecology and biology. Exhibition visitors become observers, and what they observe in the exhibition is not a tourist's view of a landscape. They experience, together with the scientists, and through different kind of instruments and sensors, that a landscape in which we are folded into is made by different processes and transformations. By the water cycle, forest evolution, chemical weathering, patterns of rain. This experience contradicts to conventional idea of nature, of landscape as a fixed representation of trees, rivers, sky, which are a stage humans act on. In the exhibition, the concept of the observatory expands into a philosophical and societal question about which modes of reorientation can be developed in times of the new climatic regime. The concept of the observatory implies a different kind of sensitivity and attitude with regard to all the life forms coexisting and interacting in the critical zone. As the Latin etymology of the term reminds us, to observe also means to look after, to take care, to esteem. Therefore, it is not a matter of standing in front of the object of study at a distance, but rather of getting actively involved and immersed in the processes of the ever-evolving and precarious envelope of all living, the critical zone. The Gaia hypothesis, co-developed by James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis, and the Earth system science teach us that the life forms do not passively reside within an environment, but they actively shape the conditions of their own existence and the conditions of existence for other life forms. And this happens through interaction of the life forms with each other, but also with the abiotic matter. Thus, soils, the atmosphere, and the chemical composition of the oceans are extensions, are products and byproducts of activity of living things. As Lynn Margulis put it once, life is made possible by other life. It is its own condition. How can we learn from other life forms to make worlds and terraform without extinctions and without devastations? How can we sustain endangered worlds and stories? What stories enable us to compose an earth on which to land? How to map this new territory that suddenly emerged due to the ecological crisis? How not to think in toxic taxonomies and hierarchies, but to develop a worldly and involved attitude towards the world we live in? Have we ever been individuals? Have we ever been human? If we need to relocate ourselves, then we need to draw new coordinates of the space where we live in, but also become aware of the land we live from. There is a disconnection between the two definitions of the borders of our land: the borders of the nation-states and the real borders of the places that let us thrive and soil on which we rely. We need to superimpose these two territories on top of one another to better understand what we depend on, what we have to defend. These columns, constructed out of salt blocks, are a monument to the future extraction of lithium at the territory of the largest salt flat of the world, located in Bolivia. Lithium is extracted to boost the digitization and e-mobility. How Are we interconnected with the colonial past in our ways of living and consuming? How can we become aware of the ghost acres of vast territories that ensure our wealth? Art, science and the knowledge of the communities come together, and commonly we organize a search movement for what it means to be earthbound and terrestrial, for what it means to be enfolded into this thin layer of life, into the critical zone where so many various transformation processes take place. Together we need to find a common ground in order to better understand how we would like to live together in the future, and how we can reorient ourselves toward this new scientific knowledge. Staying with the trouble requires making odd keen. That is, we require each other in unexpected collaborations and combinations, in hot compost piles. We become with each other or not at all. That kind of material semiotics is always situated, someplace and not no place, entangled and worldly. Alone, in our separate kinds of expertise and experience, we know both too much and too little, and so we succumb to despair or to hope, and neither is a sensible attitude. The exhibition project Critical Zones is a collaborative one in its nature. It has been prepared in a close collaboration with scientists, with research institutes and other collaboration partners. Under the guidance of Bruno Latour, the research seminar Critical Zones at the University of Arts and Design in Karlsruhe has prepared the exhibition with concrete projects and contributions, but also conceptually. And also this space here, the space of the Biodesign Lab, expands this collaboration. We cordially invite you to visit our physical space when it's open again after the lockdown, but also to experience a selection of artworks on our digital platform. And there you can also experience the Biodesign Lab. Now I would like to give the floor to the team of the Biodesign Lab who would like to introduce their project themselves. Thank you very much for your attention, and please stay safe.